What's up, guys? So today we are going to do a quick banner review of the Heroes Light and Shadow banner. So first of all, we have Chris. Both versions pretty much have identical stats and the same weapon. One of them is blue, one of them is green. First thing we're gonna look at, I don't know, it's not a whole lot to say. 40 base speed is pretty crazy, especially with the 172 BST each. Both respective infantry. First, going to builds. Sorry, not going to builds, but before that, res is kind of lacking, but 40 speed, 37 attack is really strong, and okay HP. You can buff it up to enough with blessing, summoner support, things like that, to where it's probably usable with every level of panic banner. Oops. So first build we have for Chris. I put female and male interchangeably. You can do this on either of them, but this one I would actually recommend for male. So I'm just probably only going to bring this up once, but I think male Chris is better than female Chris, but I think female Chris is easier to obtain. So male Chris being red, I think red in general is the best, aside from colorless obviously, is the best color you can be on AR defense. Green is overall pretty bad because you have to deal with things like Sothis, Lif, they're red units out there. That's probably the easiest to get. Blue, biggest problem because you have things like Yune and Thrasier, which are both going to be pretty big problems, which is why I think red's the best. There aren't really many blue mythic units, so overall it's just a safer choice. But first build, this build uses Spurn. If you don't know Spear of Shadow, or I think it's Blade of Shadow for male Chris, it is slaying, and if you either foe initiates combat or if foe has 100% HP, which is basically all the time, and in player hands you can very clearly control that. You nullify all debuffs, and you get, I think it's either +5 attack and speed, attack speed defense, or minus that on the opponent. Yeah, it's minus attack speed defense on opponent. So this build, all of these are meant to be run with Brave Lucina, except for the last one. So this is Soul, it's 2 cooldown Soul, so you get hit, you Soul back. This Spurn, you can run most B skills. I think Spurn is the best. The only one that is really in contention for it is Nullsea Disrupt. See very similar things on Young Marth, who I would like to compare him to stat-wise, because I think his stats are a bit better, but Chris just has more speed. Giant Drive Attack is really just there. You can use most C skills. And then Swift Stance, you want to buff up the speed for Spurn, but if you're going to use Nullsea, then I think a Mirror Stance is probably a little bit better for you. Next build we're going into, more of a tanking build. You can run plus attack on this as well, but I like to even out the res. So because of the slaying effect, you actually have a 4 charge Aether. So you can get hit, and then on your second attack you fire off your Aether. Granted, his attack is really good, so if you want to I wouldn't say nerf his attack, but maybe don't give him Giant Drive speed, and just buff out other things so that Aether does more damage and thus heals you more. That's only the first combat. Second combat, Special Spiral will go off, you will get hit, and then proc back for Aether every time after that. So first combat is a little bit of a struggle, but the rest are really good. So that works for almost every slaying set, or every slaying pref there is. Going on to the next build, it's a Gale Force build. Once again, utilizing the slaying effect. You can use Fury Desperation to get a Gale Force, because you have Flashing Blade, as a seal, and you're chipping yourself with HP with Fury 4, and you're getting into desperation range. And once you're in desperation range, then you can just double without worrying about getting hit. Sorry, double, not worry about getting hit, and then you have Go Force. Only hard part is you have to get out somehow, sometimes. Granted, you can run a Go Force build like this to like trap arena unit, or like to trap AR units, like how you trap a range unit by surrounding it. I think she's definitely really good at that, especially with this build. Panic Smoke, it's probably her best C skill, but this build doesn't necessarily need one unless you want like defense smoke if you are worried about a kill. But Fury 4 should give you plenty of attacks. 62, you shouldn't have to worry about too much, not to mention that you're debuffing your enemy's defense. Last build I'm showing off is meant to be run with Layla. So I know I do this with my Layla. She's run with a close call Linus, 4 Def Rose, attack smoke, this, that, and the other. Just a ball of stats that shouldn't be taking much damage. And you can just throw him in a situation where he likely won't die. Granted, he has Nan time, so it's not too much healing, especially if you get hit with a ranged attack. But he does what he does best. He just tanks the hits with 41-40 defenses, or 41-44 with Spurn. He shouldn't be dying to anything, unless it's like a Blade Tome or something crazy. But for the most part, it's a really safe build for Chris. Now, moving on, we have Julian. Julian's kind of strange in my opinion. He's a really weird base kit, but he comes with close foil and low attack speed. So the first thing I wanted to go into was you can run him on something like an infantry pulse team. This is very similar to how I and most people run Soth. They run you can either run Ouch Pouch, or Julian has a high HP, so I ran Ouch Pouch, but you can run his base weapon, which is, oops, never mind. His base weapon is called Caltrip, I think. It's exactly the same as Dusk Uchawa, which is party bearing and cav effectiveness. I only ran Ouch Pouch because he has a really high HP and it's hard to get him infantry pulsed. But you can definitely run something like this on an infantry pulse team. And his defense is high enough to the point where if you're running Fury instead of Life and Death, then Bonfire does a lot more than Life and Death Luna would do, to most characters at least. And Bonfire is like, what? That's 22 true damage. Oh, and running Ouch Pouch, that's 3 more defense as opposed to 1 more attack, and 3 more defense. With defense mythics, 2 defense is more important than 1 attack. For 2 extra hit points on Bonfire. It's because it's 3 defense, not 2. So it varies case by case, but I think defense is overall better. And you only really want, like, it's a defense team, you're trying to kill 1 unit, you're not trying to kill all of them. You only really need 1 kill before they're pretty defeated. Going into Aether offense, Julian has high enough HP that he can be supported enough in Light or Astra with triple mythic to have above 70 HP. Bad example. To have above 70 HP. So he's really good. He can get past every panic manner that we have right now, and he has really good attack. Granted, that's with 2 Altinas and summoner support, but that's still a ton of attack. Granted, it's a 5-star exclusive, so I'd still build something like Chad or something similar, but if you really want to plus 10 Julian, I guess this is where you would go. Overall, pulling for Julian, not really worth it. If you get a one-off, you could just run this. You can run defense. Just running his basic thing. You run in, slap something up, and then close foil with 37 defense and a ton of speed. You're doing a lot of damage. Lastly, for banner units is Lena. You'll see she has no skills, and we also have Emeria. I don't know, her purple girl. You can see they have no stats, and that is because you shouldn't build them. More than likely, you already have 11 copies of a significantly either better or easier healer. So this is an infantry healer. This is Mercedes. She has 157 BST, and aside from that, that's the only area she struggles in. She has 157 BST, and Lena has 162. Looking at their stats, she has 40 HP, Mercedes has 39. She has 32, Mercedes has 33, 29, 30, 24, 22. Now the only major difference is that Lena has more res, and that's where the vast majority of her 5 extra stats go into. So if you get a bunch of copies of Lena fast and you don't already have an infantry healer, then Lena's fine. But overall, I think Mercedes is probably better. You have much more, so you probably have a ton of her by now. She's an infantry healer. Most of them are the same. You got her, you got Brady, you got a ton of options. Pretty much just pick your favorite. And Three Houses is new, and people like Mercedes. So I think she's a better pick. And as far as Emery, this girl goes, if you like her as a character, then go for it. But in my opinion, if it's just an infantry healer with a pretty average stat line, she's got good speed, but that might be it. She's got okay stats, but like her fodder is pretty subpar. She's got attack, which is attack res push 3. Let's see, she has Panic, Physic, Miracle, Attack Res, Push 3, and Distant Guard at 5-star. So you're not getting much mileage out of her. And she's definitely not worth the grails. That's where I was going into. Definitely not worth the grailing in my opinion. So, moral of the story, Chris is really good, I feel. Okay, let me compare Chris to Marth. Right quick. Stargall Marth versus Chris. So Chris has 40, 41, 37, 36, 40, 37, 30, 32, 25, 26. So you see young Marth is 2 more defense and 1 more res and 1 more HP. Chris has 1 more speed, 1 more attack, and 3 more speed. They have the same BS2, but I think Chris is slightly more min-maxed, and I think that's just barely better. And I think Chris has a much better pref. That's another thing. Having Vantage in your weapon is nice, but Marth has enough defensive stats where Vantage isn't all that necessary. But yeah, overall, I think pulling wise, if you aren't pulling for Chris, then you really shouldn't be pulling on the banner. If you aren't pulling and you just want to waste your tickets, Colorless has really good rates. You got 4-star Focus and Julian, who has really good fodder. But I think Spurn is really good. I myself am pulling for Spurn. I'm getting Spurn on my Soleil, and I will likely use that for upcoming true solos, which I would like to try. But that's just me. Like, I don't see true solos as a good reason to pull for a skill if you're not like making something out of it. Like, I'm just trying to make content that people enjoy. But if I wasn't doing that, then Spurn would definitely not be worth it for that purpose. Granted, Spurn is worth it in some cases, like If your arena carry, or if your AR carry really wants burn, then go for it. But that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye guys.